Most people in your life aren't talking to you anymore. They're talking to the last saved version of you. The last version they fully understood. The last version they had enough time to notice. And the strange thing is, they don't even know they're doing it. Someone smiles at you at a social gathering, hands you a drink, and says, "You haven't changed at all." You smile, you nod, because you know they mean well. It's meant as a compliment. But later that evening, sitting alone in your car, replaying that conversation, something doesn't really fit. Not because they were wrong, because they were only describing the last version of you they happened to save mentally. Your life kept on moving. New responsibilities, new priorities, new fears, new conversations, new ways of seeing the whole world. And meanwhile, their understanding quietly stopped updating itself. Not because they stopped caring, because somewhere along the way they pressed save. If you're somewhere in your late 30s or 40s, you probably lived several different lives without ever changing your name. There was an ambitious beginner, the first time manager, the exhausted parent, the dependable leader, the person rebuilding confidence after setback nobody else even knew had happened, the person who slowly stopped chasing titles, the person who quietly started valuing time more than recognition. Most of those changes never had an audience. They happened quietly, on long drives home, in hospital corridors, in difficult conversations, in empty meeting rooms after everyone else had left, in an ordinary Tuesday that somehow changed everything. And yet, the people who have known us the longest often continue speaking to an earlier version of us. Not because they don't love us, because that's the last version they truly understood. The strange thing is, nobody decides to do this. It just happens. Every meaningful interaction quietly presses save, not on a document, on their understanding of you. Reliable, creative, funny, quiet, the leader, the helper, the smoother, the difficult person, the responsible one. Once that version makes sense for them, life gets busy. Your story keeps changing, their version often doesn't. Not because people are careless, because our minds are constantly updating everyone we know. They're trying to keep up with life. So instead, their version is still running yesterday's profile. Most people aren't responding to who you are today. They're responding to the last version they successfully saved. At first, this seems harmless, just an outdated impression, but over time, it quietly changes the opportunities you are given, the assumptions people make, the questions they stop asking, even the compliments begin pointing backwards. You've always been dot dot dot. You're still the person who dot dot dot. And without realizing it, the world keeps inviting you to repeat a role you've already outgrown. And sometimes, without noticing, you accept the invitation. You met an old colleague after several years. The conversation begins very warmly. You ask about their family, they ask you about yours. You try catching up about some lived moments. You laugh about the projects you survived together. Then they begin describing you. You've always been brilliant at operations, but strategy was never really a thing. They say it with complete confidence. Because once, that was true. 8 years ago. In that moment, you realize something. They're not speaking to today's version of you. They still see an earlier version. Their version is still running the yesterday's profile. You could explain everything that's changed, everything you've learned, everything you've become. But explaining your own evolution somehow feels like you're trying to prove yourself. So you don't. You just smile and let the earlier version finish the conversation also with your friend. Here's the uncomfortable part. We don't just experience this, we do it too. Think about someone you haven't seen in years. A college friend, a cousin, an old manager. Without realizing it, you're probably still carrying an earlier version of them. Meanwhile, their life has continued without you. They've changed in ways you'll probably never fully know. Every relationship quietly contains two people and two versions of who each person believes the other to be. Maybe they're not the person you remember anymore. Maybe you've simply never updated them. A while ago, I came across an old resume. Everything on it was completely accurate: the companies, the promotion, the responsibilities. But something important was still missing. It listed everything I had done, almost nothing about who had become. There wasn't a line for patience or perspective or learning that reliability can slowly become a cage. There wasn't a promotion for becoming less afraid of disappointing people. The biggest changes in our life rarely leave obvious evidence. Maybe that's why they're so easy for everyone else to miss. Here's an activity I want to do with you. Imagine your life as series of saved versions, version 1, 2, 3, 4, each one shaped by experiences nobody else fully witnessed. Now imagine everyone else around you. Your closest friend might still be seeing a version 2. Your former manager might be still seeing a version 3. Your sibling might still be seeing a version 1. A school friend might still be seeing a version 1.5. None of them are wrong. They're simply opening different safe points in your life. Once you notice this, you begin seeing it everywhere. Performance reviews, family gatherings, old friendships, the way people introduce you, the assumptions they make. Most people aren't intentionally misunderstanding you. They're simply working from an older save. So here's something you can try for yourself. This week, don't try to update everyone else's version of you. Just notice where they last pressed save. Ask yourself three questions. Where did my family stop updating me? Where did my closest friends stop updating me? And finally, where have I stopped updating myself? Because sometimes the oldest save version isn't sitting inside someone else's mind. It's sitting inside your own. So let's go back to the building, to that same party. You haven't changed at all. Maybe they weren't ignoring today's version of you. Maybe they simply reopened the last version they had saved. We all do this. To old friends, to our parents, to our partners, to our colleagues. We quietly assume the version we remember is still current. But here's the thought that I can't let go of. The greatest danger isn't that other people keep opening an earlier version of you. The greatest danger is opening that same version for yourself, making decisions that protect a yesterday's profile instead of serving the people you've become today. Because growing older isn't about changing, it's about remembering to keep updating your own understanding of yourself, even while the world is still catching up. Otherwise, we will all end up living with outdated versions of one another, not because we stopped caring, because we stopped updating. Take care. Bye bye.